And to bisexual men, I got another treat for you. Whoever shoot down this fucking video, suck the shit out my ass like whoever framed me on my tablet. Y'all can just suck the shit out of my ass. Because whoever framed me with my Instagram, I'm pissed off. But to any bisexual men out there, I got a surprise for you. I got a treat for you. You're going to love this.
Anything more exhausting in this world, and there's a lot of exhausting things, than trying to maintain a man's heterosexuality.
Wait a minute, let me rewind this.
I cannot think of anything more exhausting in this world, and there's a lot of exhausting things, than trying to maintain a man's heterosexuality.
Video 29 minutes, yeah. Why don't they straight men? Straight men, this is no knock. And also, straight men, this is no knock to y'all. I'm just saying, there's no knock to y'all. Because like I said, if y'all open-minded straight men, I rock with y'all, y'all rock with me. And to straight women, I rock with y'all too. But I'm just saying, to bisexual men rights, support. You know, all right, here we go.
True tea. I want to thank you guys so much for supporting this series. I really appreciate all of the positive feedback that I've been getting. It's been really fun to, kind of really be honest and share with you guys some things that I've been really afraid of saying. I'm really nervous about the reception. But, the beautiful thing about getting older is you stop caring as much. And I kept kind of getting to that point. I wonder how little I'll give in a couple of years. But thank you guys for joining me and supporting me. Side note, I made this shirt. I hand sewed the shirt, and then I painted this little baby skull on it. But I didn't really think about boobs when I did this. So my shirt will just continuously do this the entire thing, and the design will get, distorted. But, this isn't a DIY channel yet, so yeah. Anyway, we're going to be having an interesting conversation, so I suggest that we all go to our kitchens and grab ourselves some tea if you guys, want to relax and decompress while we're having this conversation. Personally, I am drinking some sweet and spicy tea by Good Earth. A student from CSUN actually gave this to me during my talk. I want to thank everybody who actually came out to CSUN and saw me. I really appreciated the warmth of the students. We had a really, really great conversation. And I want you guys to remember that if you ever want me to come to your college, you just check the description box. I've got the email where you can contact me about doing all of that. I love coming to college campuses, and I love talking to people and, hopefully saying something productive. So this tea smells really, really good. I put a little bit of apple juice in it. I mentioned that I've been kind of using fruit juice as a sweetener, as suggested by you guys. But I almost feel like I probably shouldn't have done that because it smells so good. Ooh, it smells really good. Let me just take a sip. It's kind of hot, I'm sure. It's hot. I don't know why I always decide to sip tea at the beginning of this, right after I freshly brewed this batch. But, I guess I never learned. All right, so we're going to be having a conversation about something that I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me about this. Like, I already know. But, one of the things that I'm learning, and this will kind of be a theme throughout this video, is that, what works for me doesn't have to work for you. I transitioned 13 years ago.
You know what? People can go suck the shit out of their ass. People kill me with that. Everybody supposed to be on 1 degree. No, we live in a world of individual. You are a beautiful trans woman. They can suck your shit and they can suck my shit. And like I said, if I become bisexual, you girlfriend, I ain't gonna go there. But like I said, if anybody shoot down this video, you can suck the shit out of my ass.
I have a lot of I've got a lot of things that I have a lot of perspectives that are based on like time. Time sort of shows you, slowly but surely, that the things that you used to think of were important are not really important. And this is going to be a really important through line of this video. So I know that some of the things I say in this video may upset some people, may offend some people. But girl,
it ain't going to upset nobody. I'm loving this shit. Anybody that's offended this video can shut the fuck up. I'm loving this video by the minute. So take your time and do you, girl.
See, this is about me giving you my brew, and you are always welcome to giving me your brew in the comment box below. I love to read the comments under these videos. I think that, oftentimes we have some really great conversations. So I'm excited to see what we have to say here, because I'm sure a lot of people have different opinions about this. So I wanted to talk to you guys about my particular preference in dating men who are bisexual. And, one of the things that I kind of recognized when I first started to publicly speak about my preference for bisexual men was that a lot of bi men are not used to hearing positive feedback from women that they're interested in them. A lot of bi men are used to being rejected because they are bisexual. That is something that a lot of men are very, very used to. And, being where I am now, that sort of surprises me and confuses me because I see bisexual men as, if I'm being completely transparent, I do think that they tend to be better partners than straight men in my experience. But at the same time, there was a time in my life where I did not feel that way, where I would not date a man who I knew was attracted to other men. So I want to take you guys through that whole process and how I got to where I am today. Now, I've talked previously in other videos about, some of the conventions that you play into when you are a trans person trying to live in stealth, when you are a trans person trying to be embraced or accepted, right? And, for me, from where I was, and again, I can only really speak for myself, when I figured out that I was a trans woman, by then I already knew that I had exclusive attractions to men. Some people, when they transition, they find that they're more willing to be honest with themselves, and they're more willing to sort of see, maybe that they have attractions to people of different genders. But for me, I've recognized that, my attractions are exclusively to men. That is what it is. And so as far as being bisexual, not even a little bit. I often describe myself as tragically heterosexual, right? But, part of me wanting to date, part of me wanting to be in relationships, part of me wanting to, participate in this game of romance and dating and flirting and relationships was really me jumping into, the dating world, trying to find men who made me feel valid, right? And as a trans woman, at least for me, I had to keep bringing it back to me. I didn't want to date anyone who saw me as male, right, or saw me as a man. And of course, those words mean different things, but let's stop pretending that when people say male, they don't mean man. It's a whole other conversation. But I didn't want to date anyone who saw me that way, because for me, that's just incredibly upsetting, and it's something that I have a hard time swallowing, because for me, that would require someone to truly look past who I am to find a person that doesn't exist, right? And so I was very, very, very invested in only dating men who were straight, right? And there were a lot of times where I would have, these dating websites, which, by the way, these transgender dating sites, these transgender dating sites are a mess, and on these sites, you'll meet these men who will broadcast themselves as heterosexual. They'll say straight man looking for da-da-da-da-da, right? And, I would put that I was exclusively looking for straight men, and so we would have that conversation, right? And so, I would make plans to meet with these people. Now, we can make a whole video about this, and I probably will. I most likely will. Let me know in the comment box if you guys want to see this video. But what ends up happening when you date men who are incredibly invested in their heterosexuality is that frequently they are very, 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 very insecure and very, 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 very paranoid about anyone knowing that they have any interest in transgender women, right? So frequently what ends up happening is you'll date a guy who IDs as straight, and he wants you to hide, I've dated several men who were okay with taking me out on dates and were okay with bringing me around certain people as long as I didn't tell anyone that I was transgender. Now, back in a time when I was trying to be stealth, back when that was a goal of mine, back when that was a focus of mine, I had no issues with dating a man who didn't want me to be out in public, in terms of me being transgender. That was something that kind of fit into where I was at the time, where I didn't want to broadcast it. I didn't really want anyone to know. And so in certain situations, that ended up working out. But oftentimes what I would end up doing is really putting myself in what I can now understand are very, very, very demeaning situations, all for the sake of defending this person's image as a heterosexual man. Now, I want to quickly touch on this because I know that this is probably going to be something that people are already talking about. And when it comes to the conversation of trans women and dating, this is something that always really annoys me because, obviously if you're not a trans woman or a person who dates trans women, you're not going to have a concept of this. You're not going to really get it. But a lot of people will say, well, there's no way in hell a man who identifies as straight, a man who is straight, truly straight, would ever date a trans woman, right? Now, personally, I come from the perspective that you don't get to tell someone else what their sexuality is. Personally, I identify as straight because I'm a woman who's exclusively attracted to men. Now,
and I want to pause right here. To straight women and straight trans women, you hear all the time that a straight man have a fancy of watching two women. So, what's wrong with a woman having two guys together? You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't mind being down with that one day, just not now. But that's another story. And also, even though I'm strictly pasta, when I do become bisexual, another thing I want to say, if anybody know what I mean, with me being a spaghetti, I always need a fork on a plate, if you know what I mean. If I do become bisexual, I still need a man around, if you know what I mean. Let me ask you something. If it's me, a woman, and a guy, who's the fork, who's the spaghetti, who's the sauce, who's the meat, and who's the plate? Y'all guess it.
Call me any other sexuality, you're wrong, but if you do, it doesn't necessarily bother me. It just isn't what I would say an accurate representation of my life. Now, obviously, my situation is different than a cis woman who's heterosexual completely, but I'm still a woman who's attracted exclusively to men, so I get straight, but I'm not invested in, defending that image, right? But anyway, a lot of people, right, especially when we talk about instances where trans women are murdered, right, you end up having all these conversations about how this guy could justifiably killed a woman because that woman turned out to be a man and he's straight, and so therefore, if that woman who turns out to be a man, approached him, had to be interested in him, she deserved to die. Now, here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. And this is an unfortunate thing for me. And I can only speak for myself. I've had conversations about this before and had people debate me with this. But when it comes to the men who approach me, I can't speak for any other person. Most of the men who pursue me, most of the men who are interested in me, most of the men who want to take me on dates and things like that are men who identify as straight. These are men who are exclusively attracted to women. Now, sometimes they're exclusively attracted to trans women and cis women, and that's all they date, right? Oftentimes in these conversations, I'm talking about people who, don't often even know that I'm trans because I haven't had that conversation with them yet. But that's who tends to approach me, right? Straight men, right? And so we can have all these debates and conversations about whether or not a straight man is interested in a trans woman. I'm the wrong person to have that conversation with because I don't really care, and also one of the things that is so central in that conversation is, and this is an issue, is that heterosexuality is put on like this pedestal, right? You're framing straight men as a thing to covet. You're framing straight men as a thing to desire. You're framing straight men as the standard in which you should pursue. And I've discovered with time that they're not all that. And that, for me personally, like when you're trying to be stealth, you're trying to date a man who doesn't want anyone around them to know that you're transgender, what that often means is that you're putting yourself in situations where...
I'm going to pause right here, guys. This is a trans woman. This is a straight trans woman who prefer bisexual men rights. I'm going to pause right here and come back. All right. Excuse me, everybody.